All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Mayor and Council of Princeton. It is January 23rd, 2023. We are going to do our meeting statement. We're going to do the land acknowledgement. We're going to do our roll call, and then the honor guard is going to process in. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance after that, and then we'll get on with the swearing in and the promotions for the police department. So if we could do our meeting statement first.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, including the time, date, and location of the meeting. In addition, the agenda and all related materials were posted electronically and made available to the public on Princeton's meeting portal in advance of the meeting.
Thank you. Land acknowledgement.
We gathered today on the land of the Lenni Lenape. As members of the Princeton community, we aspire to show appreciation, respect, and concern for all peoples and our environment. We honor the Lenape and other indigenous caretakers of these lands and waters, the elders who lived here before, the indigenous today, and the generations to come.
Thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Perrone Lambros.
Here.
Ms. Niedergang.
Here.
Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Ms. Sachs.
Here.
Ms. Fraga.
Here.
Mr. Newland.
Here.
Mayor Frida.
Here. Thank you. All right, if the honor guard would please come forward. Okay, if everyone would stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, face, forward, march, left, 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 left.
Okay, if you please sit down. All right, so we have a resolution on the agenda, 2354, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton approving the new probationary officer appointments to the Princeton Police Department. Is there a motion on that? Leticia, thank you. Eve has the second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. First, I would like to thank Mayor and Council for your continued support of the Police Department. It's tremendous, and it means the world to us, so thank you all very, very much. On behalf of the men and the women of the Princeton Police Department, I would like to congratulate and welcome our new officers, Anthony Leone, Nia Toombs, Mark McCoy, and Ryan Mastrangeli. I wish each of you a very healthy and successful career. Remember, you're the guardians of this community now. Police work will be challenging at times, but know that you'll be supported the entire time you're with us. To the families of our new officers, know that we will provide the proper training, equipment, and support to ensure that your loved ones can perform their job at a high level and always remain safe. We are excited for you all, and I want to welcome you into our family. At this time, I would like to invite our new officers to come forward with their family to be sworn in.
We're good? Okay, so you guys face the audience, picture moment, make sure you get your pictures. Guys, I'm over here. You just have to do some repeating after me, but just look at the audience. You don't have to look back. So, okay, here we go. I state your name. We're doing all four of you at once. So I state your name. All right, you got to speak nice and loud. I want everybody out there to hear you. All right, here we go. Sincerely profess and swear that I do and will bear true faith and allegiance to the government established in this state under the authority of the people. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of the office of probationary police officer according to the best of my ability and understanding. All right, don't move. We're all coming down to shake your hands. Don't go anywhere.
It's perfect. Okay, everybody can have a seat. Once again, congratulations and welcome to the Princeton Police Department family. So this is a very special night because in addition to swearing in 4 of our new officers, we have the opportunity to swear in 4 of our current officers and in their new roles, in their new promoted roles. But before I do that, I want to say a few words. I want to thank some of our retired officers in the room that took the time to show up and support the department. Retired Lieutenant Rob Toole and retired Officer Ron Walschlegel. And before I get into trouble, anyone else that is in the room that might have snuck in that I didn't see, thank you for your service. Thank you for being here. Okay, so as I mentioned, in addition to celebrating our newest officers, we have the opportunity to celebrate these 4 officers right here being promoted. Lieutenant Lagomarsino, Sergeant Matthews, Corporal Kiefer, and Corporal Dawson. I want to congratulate you and your families on your tremendous work, on your achievement, and I speak for the entire police department when I say I look forward to working with you and alongside you for years to come. So with that, I'm going to read a few bios, and we're going to swear in these officers individually. First will be Lieutenant Lagomarsino. Lieutenant Lagomarsino received his bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Iona College and a master's degree in administrative science from Fairleigh Dickinson University. He graduated from the Cape May Police Academy as an alternate route candidate and was hired by the Princeton Borough Police Department in February of 2006. While a member of the Princeton Borough Police Department, Lieutenant Lagomarsino was a member of the Patrol Bureau as well as a Detective Bureau, where he served as a juvenile detective. While in patrol, Lieutenant Lagomarsino served as an officer in charge, a field training officer, and a defensive tactics instructor. In 2017, Lieutenant Lagomarsino was promoted to patrol sergeant, and in 2020, he served as a safe neighborhood sergeant. In 2021, Lieutenant Lagomarsino was assigned to the Detective Bureau, where he was responsible for assigning reports, overseeing the detectives, and following up on cases. During that time, he served as an evidence custodian, a Megan's Law registration officer, humane law enforcement officer, a TAC officer, a suspicious Activity Reporting Coordinator, and Counterterrorism Coordinator. Lieutenant Lagomarsino graduated from the New Jersey State Chiefs of Police Command and Leadership Program, and upon promotion will be assigned to patrol. Lieutenant Lagomarsino, please come forward with your family to be sworn in.
We're all good? Okay. I state your name.
I, Thomas Lagomarsino,
Sincerely profess and swear
sincerely profess and swear
that I do and will
that I do and will
bear true faith and allegiance
bear true faith and allegiance
to the government established in this state
to the government established in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of Police Lieutenant
of the office of Police Lieutenant
according to the best
according to the best
of my ability and understanding.
of my ability and understanding.
Yeah, come on over. Anywhere, stand over here.
Sergeant Matthews graduated from the Burlington County Police Academy in 2002 and began his career in law enforcement with the Mansfield Township Police Department. After serving there for approximately 12 years, Sergeant Matthews was hired by the Princeton Police Department in 2014. Since then, Sergeant Matthews has served in both the Patrol Bureau and the Detective Bureau. He is currently assigned as a firearms instructor, humane law enforcement officer, and member of the Serious Collision Response Team. Sergeant Matthews has also served as a field training officer and was previously assigned to the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office Special Investigatives Unit as a narcotics task force officer. Prior to beginning his career in law enforcement, Sergeant Matthews attended the Richard Stockton College of New Jersey and graduated with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Sergeant Matthews, please come forward with your family to be sworn in.
Good. Okay, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Don Matthews,
Sincerely profess and swear
sincerely profess and swear
that I do and will
that I do and will
bear true faith and allegiance
bear true faith and allegiance
to the government established in this state
to the government established in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of Police Sergeant
of the office of Police Sergeant
according to the best
according to the best
of my ability and understanding.
of my ability and understanding.
Congratulations.
Corporal Kiefer joined the Princeton Borough Police Department in August of 2010 after graduating from the Mercer County Police Academy Alternate Route Program. Corporal Kiefer has a bachelor's degree in history from Rutgers University, as well as a master's degree in human resources and training development from Seton Hall University. Corporal Kiefer has served in both the Patrol Bureau and Detective Bureau during his 12 years with the Princeton Police Department. Corporal Kiefer is a field training officer, firearms instructor, and an instructor at the Mercer County Police Academy, and also a member of our Honor Guard and former president of the PBA Local 130. Corporal Kiefer, please come forward with your family to be sworn in.
Come on, leave it here, will you? Ready? A lot of hands. All right. I state your name.
I, Darwin Kiefer,
Sincerely profess and swear
sincerely profess and swear
that I do and will bear
that I do and will bear
true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the government established in this state
to the government established in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of Police Corporal
of the office of police corporal
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
Congratulations.
Let's knock this over last time. Corporal Dawson graduated from the Burlington County Police Academy in 2004 and began his law enforcement career with the Burlington County Sheriff's Department. In 2007, Corporal Dawson was hired by the Mansfield Township Police Department, where he remained employed for over 8 years. In 2015, Corporal Dawson was hired by the Princeton Police Department and has served in the Patrol Bureau and most recently the Detective Bureau for the past 2 years. Corporal Dawson has previously served as a field training officer and is a member of the agency's Serious Collision Response Team. Corporal Dawson attended the Mercer County Community College, where he obtained an associate's degree in criminal justice in 2003. Corporal Dawson, please come forward with your family to be sworn in.
Ready? I state your name.
I, Eric Dawson,
Sincerely profess and swear
sincerely profess and swear
that I do and will bear
that I do and will bear
true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the government established in this state
to the government established in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of Police Corporal
of the office of police corporal
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
according to the best of my ability and understanding.
Okay, now everyone in the audience has to repeat the oath also. We've done it 5 times, so you should all have it memorized. Okay, do you want to, how do you want to? Yeah.
And just in closing, I want to again welcome our new officers. Look forward, I speak for the entire department when I say that we look forward to working alongside you and supporting you your entire career. To the officers that got promoted, congratulations, great work. Thank you for your leadership. To Mayor and Council, I know I said it earlier, thank you for your support. Administrator Hesdovich, Mr. Grosser, Deanna, thank you for your leadership. It's really tremendous to be back in this room and to have the opportunity to do this. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. All right.
Okay, thank you to everyone. Thank you for all the members of the police department that are here this evening. Thank you to all the family and friends that are here. Take a couple minutes, work your way to the hallway, and who's ever the last one out into the hall, just shut the doors and we'll continue our meeting. Thank you very much for being here. Enjoy your evening. They have to be on. They have to be on. I think Shirley, so Lee has something that's going to get on. And he's telling John that unless you're on, you're
Okay, so he's gonna.
yeah.
I thought that's what we decided, which I think is good.
Yeah, because we've been,
Shirley's case.
I think he's got it covered up. So I kept thinking it was kicking your foot. As long as I'm not kicking you.
No, I was wondering where this was. Okay, got my water. Go back.
I don't think we're doing parking enforcement here tonight. But you're fine.
Could we call the bill back in here and see? I mean, I could go back out and.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Oh, that's where we were.
I saw your lights on tonight when I was walking here. I thought about dropping by the student.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to try to get the meeting going again. They're shutting the doors. We're going to get into council announcements and reports, and then we have a couple other quick things happening under that. But we'll do council members that have announcements or reports. Eve's got her hand up first.
Hard to follow that act and all the cute kids. I just have a few things. Wanted to let people know that the library, Princeton Public Library, is searching for a new development director. If you or anyone you know is interested, the website can lead you to the information that you need, and trying to get a good turnout. So please think about that and encourage anyone who you might know to apply. From our animal control officer, Jim Ferry, in terms of our deer motor vehicle collisions, we had a much better year than we've had in a long time. There were a total of 56 deer motor vehicle collisions. And of course, those collisions are traumatic not only for the deer, but of course the drivers who are in the cars that hit the deer. In 2001, we had 245 collisions between deer and motor vehicles. In 2012, it went down to 110. And in the last few years, it's been hovering between 100 and 120. So 56 is really a great number. It is really represents lives saved. So I'd like to thank Jim Ferry and the rest of the team for helping out with the deer management program. And my last announcement is that the Princeton Environmental Commission will be discussing our new environmental resource inventory at their February 22nd meeting at 7 p.m. And ERI provides information on the natural resource characteristics and environmentally significant features in a community. It's baseline documentation for measuring and evaluating resource protection issues and serves as a tool for decision-making by the municipality, including its Environmental Commission and Planning Board. It informs the public on the status and value of our natural resources. So I think this will be an important conversation, and it's still meeting virtually, so you can log in and join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Other council announcements or reports?
Yeah.
Michelle?
Thank you. A couple updates. So on the Recreation Commission, we have a contract to plan and redesign Community Park South, and we've begun working with the consultant Suburban on the first steps. So we're working on the formation of a steering committee. The steering committee will consist of representation from the Recreation Commission, from Princeton Public Schools, from the Environmental Commission, Witherspoon-Jackson Neighborhood, there'll be council liaison, and then staff from Recreation, Engineering, Planning, and Health and Human Services. There will be a series of community meetings to solicit input from neighborhood groups. We'll be talking to the Dog Park Alliance, many youth and adult sports groups, including the Princeton Special Sports Group, and parents that have registered for adaptive programming for the parks. I also want to mention, we're in the throes here, the dead of winter, but we're looking towards the summer, and the rec department's taking applications now for summer employment. So camp counselors, camp supervisors, lifeguards, swim instructors, seasonal maintenance. There's some great opportunities for our youth in Princeton. Applications are available on our website or in person at our office here at 400 Witherspoon. I also have a report from the Communications Committee. So tonight we're going to hear from our consultant, Taft Communications. A few months back, we hired Taft to do a communications inventory and help us in improving our outreach to the community. One thing we hear on an ongoing basis is how residents don't know what's happening with the town. So we're hoping to improve our communications and use the tools of our newsletter, our website, our social media, and our local media partners to better communicate and improve our general outreach. So tonight, we will hear the results of Phase 1 of Taft's review and their recommendations on improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Yes, Mia.
I have some very, very exciting news. On February 5th at 11 a.m., after several decades of Princetonians waiting, Princeton will be opening its first dog park in Community Park. There will be a grand opening. All the members of council will be there with their dogs. All the members of the governing body will be there with their dogs. And there will be refreshments and possibly some games and other things. But we're very excited, and we hope that you'll join us. And so that's Sunday, February 5th at 11 a.m. Rain or shine.
Thank you. Leticia.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to share on behalf of Human Services Department, ever since the start of the pandemic, they've been coordinating with different community partners to put together a calendar for those who are experiencing food insecurity, and it keeps getting updated to let our community know what's available on any given day. And every once in a while, we hear from individuals who they may have come across from someone who's experiencing food insecurity. So I urge anyone, whether anyone listening from the public or if anyone you come across that you feel is in need, direct them to the Human Services Department's website, where there's a calendar available with that provides information on where one can obtain food on any given day or assistance. That's all I have. And there are some exciting news that I will give Jeff the honor to share regarding new benefits that are coming, that are already available for our families. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any, Leighton?
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I'd just like to announce that Corner House, the municipality's arm for drug prevention and alcohol prevention, is in need of 2 board members at this time. So if you are interested in joining that sort of a board and would like more information or know someone that is, please have them complete an online application to the municipal website or reach out to any one of members of council and the mayor. And lastly, I'm just encouraging everyone within the sound of my voice to shop local. Whenever you can, get out and be a part of the human landscape of Princeton. It's changing and it's getting better and better every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Leighton. Okay, any other council announcements or reports? Great. Okay, I believe our Special Improvement District Executive Director is up next.
Good evening, Your Honor. My name's Isaac Kramer, and I'm the Executive Director of the Princeton Business Partnership, but soon we're going to be referring to ourselves as Experience Princeton. This is the result of a multi-month process working on brand development with a local firm, Ananta Creative Group, many volunteers, including one I saw here tonight, Bob Hillier, who we're very grateful for. So in addition, some things we were working on in the last 30 days is we were planning and we're having our first Experience Princeton meetup this Thursday, the 26th at 4 p.m. The location is the Arts Council of Princeton. We do encourage RSVPs for that. We already have 40, including several members of council and mayor, and thank you for that. We've developed a dashboard to track our progress towards our goals. This is something we're reviewing internally with the board right now, but just a good management tool to have. Our economic development team continues to focus on allowable uses and trying to update that, and I expect a communication shortly to the municipality regarding that. Our available properties list is being put together with help from a volunteer who also happens to be a commercial broker in town. So very convenient when community members like that step up. We've sent 3 monthly e-blasts, usually the first of the month, and grown our list to 2,642 subscribers with a 45% open rate, which is pretty good. We've had 15 engagements with the municipality around issues of policy and assisting businesses. In fact, tomorrow we'll be sharing some of those when I meet with the administrator. We're also expanding and refining our database of contacts. We have 5,413 people we reach. That includes 655 businesses in the district and 257 property owners. So we're getting a better sense of all those people that we're here to serve. And last but not least, we have several business openings to report, and I want to acknowledge you, Mr. Mayor, for stepping up for your teamwork, helping with the recent one at Ani Ramen, but we also welcome Sona Beauty Salon at 38 Witherspoon, and Princeton Floral Design, which is moving to 23 Spring Street, and we're expecting Alpha Fit Club to open at the Princeton Shopping Center in mid-February. Hope to see you, and hopefully many members of council and other invited guests there. In the next 30 days, quickly, some things we're working on is a grant to T-Mobile for $50,000. We have a letter of support we'll share with the administrator tomorrow, asking for that from the municipality. We have our next Experience Princeton, always the 4th Thursday of the month at 4 o'clock, and this one will be virtual. We'll announce that in our e-blast. Our economic development team is looking at the zoning approvals process and trying to brainstorm with the municipalities ways we can streamline it to be more business friendly, and hopefully we'll come up with some good ideas on that. Our streetscape team is looking at trash pickup timing to avoid the mountains of garbage that we occasionally see on our streets in Princeton, and trying to do better with that. And our Princeton Restaurant Week is being planned for March 5th to 11th, and we have in the next next week an opportunity for businesses to opt in, to tell us they're going to participate, and then asking for their menus by February 15th. And last but not least, we're rolling out our website and our social media accounts for Experience Princeton, and we encourage you and the public to follow those. To wrap up, Mr. Mayor, one big item that I want to let you and the council know about is Main Street Now will be the largest gathering of downtown professionals in the country. It's going to be held in Boston from March 27th to 30th, and I'm pleased to report that I'll be attending and representing Princeton, but additionally I'll be giving a session on March 30th with the title Affordability on Main Street, and we'll focus on public and private sector partnerships, sources of capital, and how to strengthen communities. So I hope that we represent you well. I'm very pleased to report that 2 of the vice presidents of Edens will be joining me on a panel, so we'll have an opportunity to highlight some of their really excellent work at the shopping center too. With that, that's my report.
Thank you, Isaac, very much. Does anybody have any questions for Isaac? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 2022 Department Goals and Priorities Report.
While we set up, one quick announcement I just wanted to make sure regarding Councilwoman Fraga's comment under announcements. As of January 1, 2023, children under the age of 19 may now apply for NJ Family Care regardless of their immigration status. All the requirements for NJ Family Care still apply. You can go on their website, NJ Family Care, and for assistance in filling out applications, Princeton residents can visit the Princeton Human Services office at 1 Monument Drive, or visit the medical office where they seek to establish themselves as patients. I want to thank Executive Director Rodalyn Jones with the Human Services for already mobilizing her team. Tomorrow at Princeton High School, they'll actually be doing application assistance from 10 to 1. So more to come on that. All right. So Deanna's got this up. I'll just go back one slide. Thanks. So good evening, Mayor and members of Council. This evening, Deanna and I will be providing a brief update on goals and priorities worked on in 2022. Before we begin, we must emphasize that capturing absolutely everything being accomplished by the municipality in a particular year is definitely a daunting task. Similar to what each of you alluded to during the reorganization remarks, a lot is getting done around here, and yet there's always more to do. If there's anything missing from this presentation, it's certainly not on purpose, and we'll gladly add it in for the record moving ahead. We'll include items not mentioned here and/or items we're still working on for the 2023 goal-setting session and the upcoming Mayor Council goal-setting retreat, which I believe will be scheduled in the near future. Some background on the process for anyone that needs a reminder or for those that are new to the process. In February 2022, Mayor, Council, and Administration met for their annual goal retreat. During that time, it was determined by Mayor and Council to focus on higher-level strategic priorities versus numerous smaller-scale goals. Now, within those priorities, Mayor and Council did in fact identify a few goals within those priorities that were to be focused on. Once those priorities were identified, administration brought them back to the leadership team, and department heads were asked to incorporate their specific departmental goals into those overarching priorities. From there, managers utilized Microsoft Teams to track progress throughout the entire year. At Bernie's twice-a-month leadership meetings, we would take a few minutes to have a goal status update along with the process for updating the master goals list. Again, as mentioned back in the previous slide, the 6 overarching themes or strategic priorities were identified. Mayor and Council have agreed upon and supported the 6 strategic priorities for the municipalities as follows: social equity, resilience and climate, transit, streetscape and parking, electronic format, affordability, and legacy goals. As staff worked through these priorities, we quickly learned a few main lessons. 1, many departmental goals could easily fit into each of these strategic priorities, which demonstrates our departmental leadership is already in line with the overarching vision of Mayor and Council. Second, many of those 2022 goals fit into more than one theme or strategic priority. This also demonstrates shared visions by our elected officials, administration, and municipal departments. And I'll go into detail a bit more on each of these, along with the corresponding Mayor, Council, and departmental goals. In no specific order, we'll go through strategic priorities and the corresponding goals. And for the sake of time, I may not touch on every individual goal or progress, which we can get to during questions if you'd like. The presentation is also in the agenda packet, and questions or comments on progress can be sent to administration. One last note, there are goals on here with an asterisk. Those are still continuing into 2023. There's some that might not have them, but we'll note those as we go through. The first strategic priority, social equity, seeks to involve delivering services in a fair and just way while ensuring equitable access to community resources. Through department-specific training and expanding cultural and linguistic competency, our municipal staff continue to refine their awareness on how to deliver services in a fair and just way. A primary goal under social equity this year was to centralize health, human services, and mental health services with an emphasis on vulnerable populations. This was accomplished through cross-collaborations with outreach coordinators and the successful rollout of free dental and vision care thanks to CDBG funds. The Community Park South Plan, Dog Park, and Community Center seek to expand access to all residents and increase community involvement. The motivation behind these overlapping goals is to expand resident use and ensure we are covering the bases when it comes to complete health, which we know is physical, mental, and overall wellness. The laundromat, which is a social equity goal, is also a legacy goal, and the municipality welcomes the addition of a laundromat to the community. And lastly, the facilities assessment study is underway thanks to the guidance of our municipal planner, Justin Lesko. The study was conducted over the latter half of '22, and with its completion sometime in the coming spring. Outside of the priorities set by mayor and council, departments have done their own work to foster social equity. Like most things, social equity is never 100% completed, but something we must continue to strive for as the fabric of our public service. As one of those overlapping goals I spoke about earlier, affordable housing has allocated CDBG funding for vision and dental care, but also for child care and personal protective equipment being administered by Health and Human Services. Thanks to the recent hire of affordable housing manager Lewis Hurd, his previous experience in creatively utilizing CDBG funds will be an asset in '23. Further, engineering is investigating options with a transit study after partnering with Public Transit Advisory Committee and Princeton University to evaluate current municipal transit programs. Since March, police have worked to assemble a diverse pool of applicants. They've also worked on succession planning by providing officer-in-charge training. Chief Bukhari has clearly set a new vision for the department, and it's one of improved community relations and seeing their departmental efforts as a team approach with other departments and community gatekeepers. Lastly, administration continues to stay committed to the municipality's efforts to recognize Juneteenth. There are ongoing discussions with labor unions on how to coordinate celebrating the day, along with ongoing planning with community partners. And the next few slides will focus on goals and projects from our Department of Infrastructure and Operations, so I'll be turning the mic over temporarily to Deputy Administrator Deanna Stockton for those updates.
Thank you, Jeff. Resilience and climate action strategic priorities look to make sure that Princeton is well prepared for natural disasters, pandemics, and other adverse events. It also focuses on our efforts to combat climate change while being proactive in promoting the well-being of our environment. We quickly identified through emergency planning that no event impacts the entire community or demographic in the same way. A key focus in our preparedness activities, with much of this being led by Emergency Management Director Mike Ye, is ensuring our outreach coordinators from social services are part of the response. Being prepared for a flood, for instance, must clearly identify what areas are flood prone, but it also must take into account which residents may need more support both during the event and afterwards getting back on their feet. As we've discussed, the overlap here of resilience and climate action goals is closely tied to social equity. A large undertaking and goal from 2022 from engineering and infrastructure operations is focusing on stormwater management, stewardship of our open space, and infrastructure investments, including EV charging. The work on EV infrastructure is laying the path for the town to be less fossil fuel dependent and now being able to invest in plug-in hybrids for the municipal fleet. Shown on the screen are continued mayor-council goals for resilience and climate action. Emergency services have worked on their own improvements regarding staffing, training, and equipment. This past year, they successfully graduated 11 new firefighters. The department continues to stay vigilant with their ongoing professional trainings related to emergency management, preparedness, and ways to improve emergency response coordination. Engineering has facilitated the design and installation of various stormwater upgrades and sanitary sewer improvements to be more resilient and consider the extreme weather events that impact our daily lives more and more often. The departments also took on their own goals to enhance the resilience of the Princeton community. Other CDBG funding allowed Health and Human Services to distribute PPE bags for low to moderate income community members. The bags included COVID-19 response items. Over 300 bags were assembled. In collaboration with the Office of Emergency Management, Health has also undertaken the Health in All Policies approach for emergencies. Engineering and infrastructure operations, in conjunction with Sustainable Princeton, continues to work to keep Princeton certified with Sustainable Jersey. The Department of Emergency Services is working with Princeton faculty to develop an assignment about flood impacts in Princeton and has also successfully updated their climate action resilience emergency support function playbook. Tonight, you'll also see as part of the agenda packet 2 items that are related to these goals. That includes the annual contract for Sustainable Jersey as well as open space preservation for Princeton. Lastly, the municipality remains dedicated to ensuring equitable access to transportation and making the roads safe for pedestrians and bicyclists. Parking improvements in the municipality have been undertaken by engineering and infrastructure operations. This includes new parking pole-outs planned for Ridgeview Road to allow access to our new open space, the refinement of permit parking, and temporary improvements to the pricing structure at Spring Street Garage. The parking bank goal was placed on hold and will be revisited in the upcoming year. Engineering is also seeking consultants to perform a multimodal corridor study of Harrison Street. You'll be seeing something on this item coming to council in February. We've also completed Bike Boulevard striping, and on tonight's agenda, you'll have a proposal to continue our work on the Nassau Street sidewalk and tree replacement project. With that, I'll turn it back to Jeff.
Thanks, Deanna. Migrating our municipality into the digital age is important in increasing our efficiency and being able to deliver residents an ever-growing range of services. Infrastructure and operations have hired consultants to complete a GIS inventory of trees, sewer systems, facilities, and municipal roadway conditions. OpenGov software implementation process began in August and seeks to improve department budgeting and planning, citizen engagement, procurement, and reporting and transparency. Launch is scheduled for early 2023, and this process has been driven by our manager of Access Princeton, Christina Rothman-Iliff. Christina has been an expert at municipal software and website implementation and department buy-in. Digital archiving of municipal documents has been undertaken by various departments thanks to Deanna and her team who drove that process. 98,000 hard copy files were scanned, which equates to just around 3.8 million pages. With regards to upgrades at Monument Hall, a consultant is conducting interviews with department heads to determine future staffing and space needs, and the final report is expected by spring of 2023. Emergency services and IT have also worked on their own goals related to electronic format. All hardware to install onboard computers in the apparatus and first response vehicles have been ordered by emergency services and should be installed in early 23. Emergency management mapping and information tracking, software and training is in progress and will continue on a bi-monthly basis. Our Department of Information Technology has undertaken significant efforts to improve efficiency, security, and reliability of our technological infrastructure, which has involved implementing two-factor authentication on our VPN and upgrading internet speeds across all municipal buildings. For affordability goals, affordability in general means different things to different people, and of course, includes what most people are used to: housing, taxes, transportation, recreation, healthcare, which clearly spans multiple departments and includes multiple municipal leaders. We do our best to work on leveraging resources to make certain that living here remains attainable for various socioeconomic groups. Planning has ongoing initiatives to implement the Fair Share Housing Plan and Affordable Housing Plan within the municipality. Affordable housing sales staff and the supporting human services department staff have worked diligently to ensure that rentals and newly built units are compliant with pertinent laws. And under new leadership in affordable housing, it's been important for them to identify a vision for increasing community engagement and outreach for better communication on how housing can be attained by any resident. With regards to holding down taxes, municipal leadership are committed to streamlining costs and working with our finance department on smart spending. The municipality also began utilizing Millennium Strategies, which is the largest grants consulting firm in our region. Departments review grants at least weekly to determine if there's funding available outside of our normal operating budgets. Legacy goals, which were a fan favorite of a lot of our department heads, remain at the forefront of our efforts to ensure goals from past years will be achieved and that ongoing goals will be worked on in perpetuity. The long-awaited master plan is in progress, and by the end of the year, planning will have held multiple steering committee meetings, economic surveys, community visioning, and open houses. They're on track for planning board adoption of the master plan in the coming spring or summer. But I'll let Justin talk to the specifics on that at some point. Discussion items have been formulated for the committee. And with regards to code harmonization, the land use code harmonization is ongoing through the Code Harmonization Committee. And consolidation of motor vehicle and traffic codes will occur in the first quarter of the year. The River Road site cleanup is in progress, and once completed, a land survey and building construction will be planned and discussed. And this was also an overlapping goal with social equity. However, the laundromat continues to stay present in our planning and collaborative efforts. Regarding various departments working on legacy goals, engineering has successfully moved DPW staff from Monument Hall to Witherspoon Hall in their coordinated department and space place. They have also established various programs like Tree of the Month, and staff are also internalizing and working on finalizing the open space map. The planning board is looking to establish an alternative to SPRAC early this year. Emergency services have updated the long-range apparatus plan, basic plan, and all emergency support function plans, which we'll be executing and exercising at a Thursday tabletop. You go to the next slide, Bea. So there's a lot of qualitative information on the previous slides. Here's the final breakdown from a numerical perspective. A key takeaway from this slide is that departments contributed 86 of their own goals to fit into those 6 overarching priorities. Many of these 86 goals involved projects designed to expand upon the 30 goals set by mayor and council or to push them along. The 7%, I think in the agenda packet it was 8%, but I crunched numbers a little bit and I changed it to 7%, so we did a little bit better. But we're going to take that list of the 7% with no significant progress reported and bring that in front of mayor and council at the 2023 goal-setting retreat to see if they would like to either rephrase them or we can revisit them at that time. So that list will be made available well before the council retreat. And in conclusion, although many of these goals and projects will be worked on in the new year, it's important to note that nearly each project discussed by mayor and council last February were completed or had some level of progress made. What we've identified through the goal setting and tracking process is that we should continue to seek measurable outcomes, particularly with 2023 goal setting coming up. Staff agree that keeping a higher level mindset with goal setting and tracking helps facilitate the process. However, more specific ownership over who's responsible for tracking progress may be necessary. During my time with the municipality thus far, this has definitely been one of the first times departments have contributed in this way by adding strategic priorities of mayor and council to their own department's efforts versus the previous experiences of having 200 some odd goals and just kind of plugging away at them. This process, at least from my vantage point, felt organized, contrary to whatever you think. But we did have an Excel document that was pretty disorganized, and we brought it to one succinct document. So departments have expressed their excitement over how far we've come over 1 year when you look at this as a whole. And looking ahead again at 2023, we should continue to maintain and improve upon what has worked well. And in my opinion, that's been that open dialogue with mayor and council and municipal staff in regards to having that shared vision for these priorities. And at this time, we're happy to answer any questions or revisit any goal achievement that was listed on the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. Council, Letizia? No? I'm sorry. Eve?
Wow. I read this through once already, and even a second time, it's a lot. There is so much going on, and more to come in the future. So I don't have specific questions at this time. I feel like it's just a lot of information to absorb, and I look forward to getting into it at our goal setting. But I wanted to thank our administrator, Bernie, and Jeff, you and Deanna, I can see you. That's why I'm talking to you. This is really a terrific way, I think, of approaching this in a very thematic way where our big goals are underscored by individual actions. This is great, and I look forward to digging in more and seeing if there are those holes that you mentioned that need to be filled in. So thank you.
Thanks, Eve.
Michelle?
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is pretty amazing because I remember the spreadsheet that had about 10 different colors on it and really like trying to ascertain what were really tactical goals versus strategic or visionary goals. And I think you have been able in the past year and a half since we began the process, or really 2 years, to really boil it down. And I think that this process is really valuable. I look forward to the council retreat. I believe that this is really the way to go. And yeah, wow, it's really it's just absolutely amazing, astounding what the staff has been able to accomplish. I mean, when we put this all out, we didn't really think you were going to do it, but now that we're on a roll, wait till 2023.
Yeah, we agree. I mean, the managers will agree that I guess going into like October, November, I was kind of getting on everyone's case at Bernie's meetings, like, hey, you've got to update those Excels because I don't know all the detail of what you're doing, but I'm happy to read about it. And the managers did a great job. Bernie gave us the floor to talk about it, but really what helped was the shared documents. Nowadays, obviously, people have been sharing documents through Google Slides, things like that before. But Microsoft Teams has opened up an ability for departments to cross-collaborate through the goals, which helped a lot.
Yeah, no, it's terrific, and you've really been able to pull out the strategic goals and really plug in all the things that that you're accomplishing. So just kudos on a tremendous effort to everybody. Thank you.
Other council, Mia?
I also am remembering those hundreds of goals with all sorts of different colors, and it often felt with goal setting that before we had even finished goal setting, we had already set ourselves up for failure because there was no way we could ever achieve any of that. And often during the year, we feel that we're pulled in a million different directions, and every day is, a new house on fire and whatever. But when I read through this, I felt like, oh, there is a method to our madness. We did actually accomplish quite a lot in a very systematic way, even if it didn't feel so at the time. It often felt very frenetic. But this was so helpful to get a sense of where we have come, which is farther, I think, than even any of us realized, and where we need to go. So just echoing my colleagues, thank you so much for creating coherence. This is a perfect foundation for us to figure out the prioritization of our objectives for 2023. So thank you.
Go ahead, Letizia.
I just want to echo what my colleagues already expressed, and thank you, Bernie, Jeff, and Deanna. And I'm sure you also had a lot of helping hands to put this together. And I really look forward to getting to 100% and also to identifying, there's always room to identify new goals of what we want to see in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Layton.
Yeah, and I'll be brief, echo what my colleague said, but I just, want to suggest that a document like this really shows the breadth, the scope, and the reach of municipal government at work. And when you talk about infrastructure, you start with, the sewer and the streets and the construction, but let me suggest to everyone that the real infrastructure that's important in running a municipal government is the human infrastructure, and we are blessed with extraordinarily good and professional people. So thank you.
Thanks, Layton. You're good? Okay, I'm just going to jump in because I think the fact that the governing body last year made a major shift in getting away from hundreds and hundreds of departmental goals is one of the most significant achievements of the last year. So the fact that staff was able to run with this, so the council the governing body has finally figured out that we should be setting high-level goals, strategic goals. The staff can do day-to-day tactical, which you guys have shown clearly you're able to do. Quite very impressive, the 93 or 94% that were accomplished are almost accomplished. So I think one of the two things for this year is that we kind of repeat it again, that we stick with the high-level goals, and that we also make sure we push those goals out soon enough in the year that we can share them with the BCCs, because the BCCs should also be part of the process, and they should be following the goals that the governing body sets, as opposed to the governing body reacting to goals that the governing body is does not feel as high a priority as some of the BCCs might at times. So we just need to get the entire organization all going in the exact same direction, and we're closer than ever to doing that. So anyway, I didn't mean to repeat half of what everybody already said,
No,
but
that was important.
I just think it's important to make sure we do that. So thank you
That's helpful, thank you.
to all three of you for leading the charge. Anything else that we were supposed to ask you that you had a great answer for that we didn't ask you? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up, Taft Communications.
Good evening to the mayor and members of council. Thank you for inviting us tonight. My name is Ted Deutsch. I'm the managing partner of Taft Communications. I'm accompanied by my colleague, Vice President Jane O'Connor, who's intimately involved in our work in the town. And pleased to be here tonight for a high-level summary of our work to date on phase one of our community outreach project and communications assessment. Taft incidentally is based down the road in Lawrenceville, and we'll be celebrating our 40th anniversary this year in business, serving Central New Jersey, and beyond. Very pleased to be working with Princeton. I'm going to be asking for a little support. Oh, have I not been on to this point? Okay. So good. So moving forward, this is a short summary of our findings of our community outreach and communications assessment project to date that we're pleased to be doing for the town. These slides have been posted online, so for those who would like to get a closer look at a slower pace, of course, feel free to do so. The goal here, which I'll provide an overview of and our findings and some recommendations, were essentially to help the town strengthen its communications and outreach to the community by taking a look at how today the governing body communicates to residents, businesses, and organizations. There was some sense that the government could do more to coordinate and enhance how information flows to the community. So Taft, as experienced in this area, was engaged to do an analysis of the town's communication tools, including the newsletter, social media channels, website, and to develop a robust integrated communications program that will enhance outreach to the community and promote further resident engagement. Our scope of work in this first phase has included gathering input from you, the governing body, and other key stakeholders in town. We've done one-to-one interviews. We've completed on-the-street interviews with the general public, well, residents. We screened down to Princeton residents, of course. We evaluated existing communication vehicles, including the website. We did a social media audit looking at other towns in New Jersey to compare the Princeton approach with other towns and a close look at our online newsletter here in town. Again, our goal to get a sense of what's working well and where there are areas of opportunity for improvement. The newsletter, of course, is distributed twice a week, which will factor into one of our findings. As a just overall statement of what we found to date, we do think the municipality does a good job of using tools like its newsletter, social media, and website to communicate. There's a high volume of communications, which is, of course, important, and establishment of important tools. However, we do think that there are opportunities to strengthen the effectiveness of these tools in a few different ways that will ultimately promote more information and engagement in town. To be a bit more specific, some common themes that we heard from stakeholders and leaders is the desire for government to be known as transparent, responsive, and trustworthy, to have clear, coordinated communications, to refine existing channels, to reach more people through those channels, and also to have more of a centralized communications resource. We also heard of a desire for improved coordination of information from amongst the council and the mayor, and ensuring that information sharing happens on a coordinated basis, even if there's differences of opinion to town. And just to go back to an earlier point, there's a feeling that whether it's a go-to person or resource that helps coordinate that flow of information can be very helpful. Some of the recommendations include development of a long-term, well-planned strategy and communications calendar that helps to prioritize significant issues based on what's most important to the town residents, have more community outreach, and consider some website enhancements that will improve flow of communications and implement some best practices around social media. In our assignment, we also will be delivering a draft communications plan to the governing body shortly, which will get into more specific outline of how that can be achieved. There's also a desire and a recommendation to enhance the newsletter, which residents receive twice a week today. I'll elaborate on that in just a moment. Social media recommendations. The town has a presence on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, somewhat on LinkedIn. We think there's opportunity to improve brand consistency across platforms, improve visuals, and ensure that there are visuals with each post, which will help with engagement, to use a central tool that can help deliver that, but also to be conscious of differences in audience and tone across the different channels. While some of that occurs today, there's an opportunity to be more customized across channels. And of course, certain channels are more utilized by different demographics, such as more boomers on Facebook, more younger people on Instagram. And also deploy an editorial calendar that will guide the flow of those communications. A quick glance at how Princeton fares to some other towns we might benchmark ourselves against. You can see for similar populations, towns with, whether it's a university embedded or a similar demographic, we're doing okay, but can improve in terms of total followers across platforms and what percentage of the population is represented by those followers. And that is, of course, one of the goals of the work to come. In terms of website, there's some short-term things that can be done to improve content usability, some longer-term things that can be considered that might involve more resources and time from the town. You can see simplification of the home page and the navigation, reducing items in navigation to top-level pages, a bit more self-service for answers to questions to encourage more people to visit the website, ensuring that no item is under more than one header, making Contact Us easier to use. We think that the newsletter is a real opportunity to bring a bit more of a message focus to communications. Right now, there is no shortage of content shared, which is a positive. It is a bit more of an inventory of everything happening in town versus an effort to prioritize features and stories that residents might be most interested in. We're recommending that there is a scale back in frequency to one time per week, that there are more engaging subject lines. Residents of town know that newsletters arrive with a date, but not much of a hint of what's inside, and that's an opportunity to create more engagement, to prioritize some features, and overall drive more engagement. Currently, incidentally, there are 4,800 subscribers to the town newsletter. On that population of 31,000, we think that's a number that can go up over time. So some of I mentioned there is a more integrated and comprehensive communications plan that's going to be provided to the communications subcommittee. Other next steps are to survey the newsletter subscribers as we head toward that more streamlined content, some redesign of the newsletter, website improvements, and an editorial calendar, which includes priority issue briefs. Of course, the governing body is obligated to provide information on anything of importance that's happening in town, but there can be a prioritization for more robust communications responsive to what the town residents are most interested in. Those are the things that we will be including in the plan and look forward to supporting the governing body going forward. That's our overview for today. We appreciate it. Can take questions now or during public forum.
Sure. Leticia?
Yes. Oh, I forgot you can see me there.
Yep.
Thanks, Ted, for that presentation. It's very insightful, and I do see some recommendations that I'm 100% in agreement. One thing that I didn't see that I hope you have given some thought to is how can we improve our outreach to our non-English speaking community? And what are have you seen other communities doing anything about that?
That is something that we're looking at in our communications plan and looking what other opportunities there are to do so. Thank you for raising it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. David?
Yeah, this is pretty specific, but in terms of the different social media platforms, I find myself spending time on Nextdoor these days, and we do have some, I think Christina monitors it and posts when there are issues of interest, but I'd be curious about your opinion of that as a channel, and, you know, because it's local, I think it's a little bit more concentrated in terms of the attention that it receives from our residents. So I'm curious your thoughts about it.
Yeah, we do see Nextdoor as an important area to monitor and to respond to, and our plan is going to have some recommendations about how the governing body can do that in a perhaps more coordinated way. In terms of proactive push, we're not recommending it as a place for proactive push of information, but I know that there's at least informal monitoring going on, and we're going to make some recommendations about how that could be done more formally. But it's absolutely a way that people are gathering information and vocalizing their point of view.
Other council questions? Eve?
Thanks, Ted, for the presentation, and Jane as well. I just want to go over real briefly something that we talked about in our communications meeting, which, you know, is a concern of mine, and I know we just want to have you go over how we'll deal with that. So the newsletter right now is a very long laundry list of everything that's important and often information for our community partners. When we go to a more streamlined version with maybe 4 topics, can you talk about your suggestions for how we can get those other important items that, you know, a particular institution is having a gathering that they want people to know about? What were the recommendations of TAF for dealing with those issues that would no longer be covered in the newsletter?
Yeah, at a very high level, what I can tell you, if there's desire, I can have Jane speak to it further, but being more deliberate about how we're pushing people to calendar items that are resident on the website that can also make clear what are town calendar items, or I should say governing body items versus general interest items. Right now, there's a bit of an amalgamation of both. So we think having some distinction of that and not just relying on the newsletter, but clearly pushing people to it, living on the website where it's actively maintained. It's an important point.
Okay. Sorry, Michelle? I don't know if you were...
No, go ahead with
Okay.
any questions. I just say thank
Anybody
you.
else? All right. I think we're good. Ted, when do you envision you're back again?
Excuse me?
When do you envision that you're back again?
Well, that's up to the committee and the council. We'll be providing a draft plan shortly. Once that plan is wrapped up, if you'd like a report here, we'd be glad to do it. It would be within the next several weeks. I'll defer to the council members.
We're hoping for February 13th. I think that's the next general council meeting, to be able to have the recommendations and a proposal by then, so.
Yeah, we're on that timeline to deliver them to you in terms of presenting them here, as you wish.
Okay.
So, just want
All right.
to keep everyone up to date, make sure we're on track, so, thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the feedback. We'll be sure to incorporate it in that plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is public comments for items not on the agenda. So if anyone has any topic they want to talk about that is not on the agenda, this is the time, because if you try to talk about something that is on the agenda, I have to stop you, since this is only for items not on the agenda. Want to make that clear? Okay, anybody in the room have anything, comments for something not on the agenda? Come on up to the microphone, please, and just introduce yourself, name and address, and you have 3 minutes to make whatever your comments are.
Dan Rappaport, Copperwood. Princeton is considered to be a Vision Zero community, and if that's the fact, then I don't understand why cars are allowed to park on sidewalks in Princeton. I've seen it a number of times at one particular location, so I think it creates a safety hazard for pedestrians. They would have to walk out in the street, and I would like there to be an ordinance prohibiting parking on sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Well, we'll pass that on to the police chief. I think we already have such an ordinance in place. Anyone else in the room? Okay. Adam, who's our backroom technology expert. Adam, I know the first person has their hand up is actually waiting to talk about an item on the agenda. I don't see any other hands. Okay. All right, so we're going to close that section of the meeting, and we'll move on to our public hearings on ordinances. The first one is Ordinance 2023-01, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton regulating speed limits on Witherspoon Street and John Street and amending the Code of the Borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974, and Code of the Township of Princeton, 1968. Is there a motion to, Eve, thank you. Leticia has the second. Okay, questions and comments on the ordinance by anybody on council at this point? All right, just for clarification, Deanna, can you remind us as to, is this the entire length of Witherspoon Street?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Okay, any public comment on this ordinance before we take a vote on this? Anyone in the room here to speak on this one? Okay. Adam, I think we have a hand up. If we could bring, yep, second person, yep.
Hi.
There you go. We can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Tina Cotillo, 79 Dempsey Avenue. And I am here to applaud this initiative. And I hope that you will approve it. It's going to be great for Witherspoon Street and John Street, for all the people who want to walk up and down that street or bike up and down those streets, and all the children who need to cross both streets to get to school and walk along the street, along those streets to get to their school. It is a very heavily traveled route for school children, both CP and PHS and the middle school. And I think this is going to be a great improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Adam, is there anybody else with their hand up? I can't see that screen at the moment. Okay, I believe that's all the public comment on that item. If there's no other council comments or questions, could we do a roll call vote on this, please?
Ms. Perone Lambros?
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes, and I'll just comment that I hope this is the first of a number of streets that get identified for the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes.
Ms. Fraga?
Yes.
Mr. Newland?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance 2023-02 is next. An ordinance of the municipality of Princeton establishing a new affordable housing overlay zone, the AHO-7 zone, along portions of Witherspoon Street and amending Chapter 10B of the Code of the Township of Princeton, New Jersey, 1968, and Chapter 17A of the Code of the Borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974. Do we have a motion on this? Michelle and Leticia's got the second. Council questions and comments? Okay. People in the room that have questions or comments, just come up to the podium. Again, name, address, and the 3-minute timer will flash up on the big screen, I believe.
Good evening. My name is Maria Juega, and I'm a resident of Grover Avenue. I'm going to, so for the record, restate some of the comments I made in a communication I already emailed to all of you, so I'm sorry for the duplication. I'm in strong support of the ordinance. It will incentivize the creation of more affordable housing as well as more middle-income housing. And this is, in my opinion, very consistent with the master plan, as well as very likely even more consistent with the future plan. Without this kind of legislative initiative, our town is at risk of becoming an enclave for a privileged few and losing the unique character and rich social and cultural diversity that we all enjoy. However, I need to raise a concern regarding the possible unintended consequences of ignoring the negative impact that the ordinance may have on many current residents in the specific area of town under consideration if protections are not put in place. This is a new concern which has not impacted previous similar overlays because of the special vulnerability of this group of residents. And to my knowledge, there has not been a public discussion of this possible negative impact. As you know, many of the residents in the properties along this portion of Witherspoon Street are low-income residential tenants who work in the local service sector and a handful of small businesses which cater to them. The fact that there's a significant and clear need for the rehabilitation of this area, and that this is going to happen, it's obviously something we all welcome, but inevitably it raises the specter of examples in the past of urban renewal projects which were very well intentioned but may have resulted in the gentrification and displacement of low-income ethnic minority populations, such as the one that we're speaking of. For these reasons, I urge you to...
Are you just about there?
To look at the possible consequences, and I have made a proposal for a number of actions that I think may address this, and I would like to hear a statement from council that if the ordinance passes, which I hope it does, that there will be a plan to address these concerns. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria.
Hi, my name is Veronica Olivares Weber. I'm here on my, as a resident, not representing the Human Service Commission. I live on 26 Edward Place, and I'm here in support of the ordinance, and I applaud all the efforts behind. However, I'm also concerned about the residents who live along Witherspoon Street. Many of them are actually my students, and I'm an art teacher at the Panel Center, which is on that street. Many of these kids have grown up in this community. They go to our Princeton schools. They live paycheck to paycheck, and they won't have any, savings to suddenly move to another location. That means that they're gonna be on house. In addition, I haven't seen any communication between those neighbors. They have no idea this is happening, including the business. So therefore, I would like for council and mayor to consider a plan with the, sorry, I got a little bit lost I don't want to miss anything. I would like you for consider additional conversations with the developers to assure that residents are notified in writing at least 8 months in advance in Spanish and English, as well as hosting community info sessions in person with a Spanish interpreter for the residents affected in the area with the information of the master plan and future plans that will affect them. The individuals and families affected in this redevelopment are really low income, and I really urge you to do something and to prepare yourself when this comes, before these ordinances move forward. In addition, I would like to put an example. Princeton University in 2009, they actually, when they did the redevelopment in Merwitt, Stanward, they informed their tenants 12 months in advance, and in addition, they compensate their tenants with $10,000 for relocation. So this is something, out of the goodwill to make sure the tenants were compensated and have money for, for people to move to additional housing. I would like also for the possibilities for the families to have priority for affordable waiting lists, or for you to kind of have a plan to make sure that they move to a more sustainable situation and they stay in this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the room to speak to this ordinance? We'll get to everybody online in just a couple minutes. We're just going to do everybody in the room first.
I had some concerns and a couple of...
Michael, could you just state your name and address?
Yes. Michael Floyd, 64 Harris Road.
Thank you.
Regarding height, 0 side yard setback, unit mix, and 90% coverage. And some of it, I'll start with 0 setback. And if I could ask a question and get an answer to it. And let me focus you on what I call the east side of Witherspoon, sort of the Mildred Trotman side. And with the 0 setback, could someone buy a property, build in the back, set that building on the lot line, and therefore impact the backyard of the adjacent neighbor?
Yes, with the 0 setback, they could.
I think that's a problem. I don't know if a developer will do that, but I just wanted to point that out. On the unit mix, I believe the way the ordinance is written, and I'm not saying you should have a input on it, but what a developer puts in the envelope of the new building, there's no requirements on 2-bedroom, all studios, or 3-bedroom condos. Is that correct?
That's correct, outside of the UHAC requirements.
For what might be 1 affordable or 10 affordables, whatever. So someone could take a property and produce a total of 3 units, including the previously existing unit. you know, the ordinance is open to that. I think when you put together the 90% coverage up from 30, but 30% is unreasonable and it has nothing to do with the actual coverage in the neighborhood, but up to 90 with the 0 lot lines. And then you get to for me, the big concern is height. You have your main developer that you talked with in developing this ordinance only wants to go up to 35 feet. I see allowing up to 45 unnecessary, a bigger impact on the neighbors to any of those properties. And I would urge you to cap it at 35. You will get what you need, especially with the 90% coverage and the 0 lot line. Thanks.
Thank you. Guess I'll go next.
Hello, my name is Joshua Zinder. I'm an architect in town. I live at 142 Moore Street, and I'm part of the ownership of multiple buildings in this particular zone, including my architectural office at 254 Witherspoon Street. I would like to applaud everyone who was involved in bringing this back to the planning board last week and to town council today. A tremendous amount of work and extra effort has been done to achieve that. I believe this is a creative plan to improve our affordable housing situation and our community landscape. With regard to the question on the 0 setback, there are building codes requirements for light and air that will protect neighboring properties, in addition to a few other ordinances that are in place. Keeping it short, I would encourage your endorsement of this ordinance tonight to continue to improve our affordable housing opportunities and the architectural landscape of our town. Thank you.
Thank you.
The purpose of the proposed change to the HO 0-7 zone, is that the,
Could
is
you
it
state your
appropriate?
name and address?
I'm sorry, is this the appropriate time to talk about that one?
No, it is, but we just need to know who
Okay.
you are.
Yes,
Sorry.
my name is Mari, M-A-R-I, Molinar, M-O-L-E-N-A-A-R. We own a house at 169 Witherspoon Street. And the purpose of the proposed change seems to be to allow more affordable housing units to be constructed while preserving the character of the Witherspoon-Jackson Historical District. But I had a couple of questions as it applies to the house. The new one, overlay would apply to property that's being redeveloped, but if we want to confirm that a house that we own now will stay confirmed if whether we do anything to it or not. I would like to ask if the overlay requires the retention of any street fronting principal buildings. If you want to, I would like to ask if it would affect the interest from a developer who would want to buy houses and develop a site. We've had some interest expressed in that before. The house that we own is currently a 2-family house, but it used to have a barber shop in the front. I don't know if that affects the zoning, but the house is very old and might better be served with affordable housing. But it seems to me that we would have 2 zoning requirements, one as a single-family house and one if it were redeveloped into a more multiple family than it is now. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else here in the room? Yep, please.
Hi, Tom Pinio, 33 Van Deventer Avenue. It would be insincere of me, however, if I didn't also say I'm a part owner of 173 Witherspoon Street. First of all, to the council, thank you for all, and I mean all, the hard work that you've put in on this. We find ourselves at the intersection of twin crises, a housing crisis and a climate crisis. And there is compelling and urgent need for action. I think there's little doubt that we can agree that we need more housing, we need more affordable housing, all of which needs to have a lower embodied carbon and lower operational carbon, while also acknowledging the rich history of Princeton's built environment. I think, however, most importantly, we need to sever whatever lingering ties remain to a long legacy of exclusionary zoning. It's time to be fully inclusionary. And I think HO7 does that. It provides a great opportunity for a public-private partnership to make real headway on both of these crises. It's consistent with the master plan, and I think this is an opportunity that we need to seize. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room?
Hi, Chris Myers, 673 Prospect Ave. And Tom is my business partner. He stole a little of my thunder here. Not too long ago, one of the council members said that they got about 10 or 20 criticisms per compliment. So to try to do a little more one-to-one tonight, I think what you guys have done here is fantastic. When I first started learning about the affordable housing overlays, I read this, I wouldn't say I read the whole thing, but a tediously long, something like 1,800-page document. And I saw all the overlay work at the corner of Cherry Valley and 206, and I really felt like that really irritated me because it felt back at the bus, out of town, and then I kept reading and I realized, well, it's not either or, it's this and that. And I think Witherspoon does a great job of having it in town integrated with some of the best parts of town. And I think that that is a really key element to why I'm a big fan of this. And in full disclosure, I'm also part owner of 173 Witherspoon. And we're working with Bob Hillier, who I think has some great taste. And in regards to the windows, in regards to the zero setback on the sides, what we have in concept is nothing like that. And I don't believe you can put windows if you have a 0-yard side setback, if that's the case. So what we have is smaller than what's allowed. In just pure concept, I think what we can do is extremely tasteful, adds to the character of town. And actually what Tom didn't say is that this is, many people know this as the former Craig House. And Eric Craig dates back to Ev Pinho in, like, what year? The 40s? Okay. They've known one another since the 40s, and I think Tom said it well. I don't care what anyone thinks about what we do here, as long as Eric Craig and Ev Pinho would be proud of, and I think that says more than anything else. And as we look at this, it's very exciting to see how a public-private partnership can integrate an affordable housing component with a market rate and bring a lot of different people, I'm running out of time, can bring a lot of people together in the same neighborhood, and I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and the dog park is awesome.
Anyone else here in the room to speak on this? Anybody?
My name is Ingrid Reed. I now live at 900 Hollands Head Spring Road in apartment H301 in Montgomery Township. But I'm in Princeton a lot, and I lived here for more than 55 years. And I have to say, Witherspoon Street was always something I hoped people would appreciate. Tonight, you passed the lower speed limit on Witherspoon Street. There are so many walkers. I think embedded in all of this must be improvement of the sidewalks. But I think what you're doing with the overlay will be terrific for Princeton to respect the fit of a neighborhood in the town. I've talked with Bob Geddes, the architect, who loves Princeton, and he had exactly that kind of comment when we were talking about the initiative. With affordable housing, you know, he designed, what's the one up at 206, and feels very strongly about planning both the land around the house and the community that's built by the collection of houses. And he said that really all fits, and I think that's what you achieved. So I wish I could have seen this earlier so I could see it to its fruition. But for now, I just want to say thank you for addressing something that Princeton has needed for a long time. And I think it's really going to be wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you, Ingrid. Anybody else in the room? Okay, Adam, could we go to the people calling in? Hey, Adam, is Shirley still in the audience? She had her hand up from the moment the meeting started, so.
Yeah, could we, Shirley had her hand up for such a long time, and she was waiting, and
That's what I'm saying. I got it.
I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, let me talk to Adam. Adam, go down to Shirley Satterfield and bring her in, please, first.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, Shirley, we can.
Okay, good morning, good evening, everyone. Mayor and council, I just lost my script because I'm on a different computer, so just hold tight.
We're not going anywhere.
Okay, I'm like the Sankofa bird. I look backward to look forward. And I know Witherspoon Street for years because I used to walk Witherspoon Street to go to Nassau School. I walked Witherspoon Street. We were walkable Princeton because we didn't have buses, so we were always walkable Princeton. But I'm going to give this little information, and I did have more, but I thought because of time and because what I was told, just keep it short, this is what I have to say. When 9 Princeton residents, along with the Princeton Preservation Commission and the Princeton Council, met for over a year to deem the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood as Princeton's 20th historic district, I remember that during a Princeton Council meeting, hearing Mr. J. Craig give a heartwarming remembrance. He remembered residents of the Princeton-Jackson community proudly walking along the Witherspoon corridor in their Sunday best. Yes, we were proud and respectful families who treasured our homes in a community where we were forced to live. For years, the Witherspoon corridor from Paul Robeson Place to Birch Avenue has been neglected for the repairs of homes, sidewalks, streets, and lighting. Now that improvements will finally reach Birch Avenue, the focus centers on the houses considered centered around affordable and historic standards. The AH07 overlay represents the next phase in preserving the district's historical destination. Preserving the unique character of the neighborhood will prove affordable living and a continuation of cultural and economic diversity in Princeton's most welcoming and inclusive community, and allow many to remain near their place of employment. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Okay, Adam, who's next?
Thank you, brother.
Adam, you're bringing in the next person? All right, just a reminder to everybody as we bring you on, it's if you say your name and address, and there's a, watch the timer. Thank you. Okay, Yaina?
Thank you. My name is Yaina Moore. I live at 19 Green Street. I'm generally in support of affordable housing, an overlay district that intends to intensify, I guess, the opportunity to create affordable housing. But there are a lot of sort of devils in the that I am concerned about. While I echo Shirley's optimism for the future of Witherspoon Street, I am concerned, like Maria Juega stated, about the current residents of properties that, while not to the aesthetic standards of some, are being provided under circumstances that may not be the best, but certainly are better than not having housing at this point. That the prospect of losing housing over redevelopment and losing the businesses that they provide is a real issue that needs to somehow be addressed in this. Of course, we have always the issue of not being able to offer Princeton preference or dedicated users and the next life of development. And I think that's a real problem. I think the commercial portion, first floor, needs to have a little more detail as to the scale and perhaps floor plates for commercial uses. It seems that this rezoning in the sense of the additional floors and the 45 height has an intent to sort of mimic the south end of Witherspoon Street. But those properties have constraints of narrow lots that make for smaller commercial units and different building forms. I know that the Historic Preservation Office can try to do an entire plan for an area that has a few land owners for which some of this ordinance clearly seems to advantage with a 90% lot coverage, essentially, and sort of as lot lines. But I think we need to look at also not only the character, the design sense, but in terms of the people. And that has not been addressed in this other affordability factor, and that does not address specific people. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Adam, can we bring in who's next? Okay, Sharon?
Hi. Hi, my name is Sharon McHugh. I live at 14 Birch Avenue. I'm a lifelong Princeton resident. I was born in the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood and have lived here on Birch Avenue for 40 plus years. So to begin, I want to thank the mayor and the council for their work on affordable housing in general and for their work on the overlay. The overlay, I think as we all perhaps would agree, is a creative technique that allows towns like ours to increase the supply of affordable housing. This is an aspirational goal that must be achieved, and we must work together forward on this. But this particular AOH as currently written, of which, by the way, we received notice on January 17th, only 6 days ago, I think it could benefit from further study. So within my house is my husband, and together we are, in addition to longtime residents, architects, planners, and preservationists. I went to school for preservation, architecture, and planning, and teach on that subject, or have taught preservation studios at Temple University. So a couple of things. We've been trying for the last couple of days to kind of wrap our arms or minds around what this ordinance is, what kind of benefit it brings, and its potential impacts. And as currently written, this is what we learned. We found errors and inconsistencies that kind of create a lack of clarity on our part as to what is being proposed here. So, for example, we found two different lists of primary buildings to be retained, and our property in particular is zoned from R9 and B1. And depending on which it is, that creates markedly different results, and it imposes different impacts. So that was one thing that kind of came out of this exercise for us. There is some concern on my part, honestly, that the lion's share of the properties in the district are held owned by a handful of investors, 3 or 4. And it's my opinion that this is never an ideal situation. And I hope there will be some discussions or measures taken beyond what's prescribed in the town zoning to ensure that the projects are done to the best of the quality, that they're done on the up and up, and that they obtain kind of the best pricing, as Matt kind of raise the income entry level into the project.
Sharon, I need you to wrap up.
Okay, I will wrap it up. Two things, maybe to add to what Michael Floyd said earlier. You know, what essentially, if you build this out, what essentially is a 45-foot building? Walked around, did a survey of different buildings. Everybody knows the former Princeton Packet building. Everybody knows or has an idea of the building in which Delicioso is located.
Sharon, I need you.
Okay. Well, my concern is again of the 45-foot height, because the 45-foot height creates a building. It could create a building that is the size of the Witherspoon Grill. That's 45 feet tall. And my question is whether or not that's a good thing, whether or not that's appropriate. The 90% impervious coverage, I think, could be improved. There's an article by the Columbia Climate School that says no more pavement. The
Okay,
problem
Sharon,
is
I'm sorry. We
surfaces.
need to move on.
Okay.
Thank you.
I understand. So basically, I'm asking the council if you will consider postponing the passage of this to better understand on everyone's behalf what this is. Thank you.
All right, I politely and respectfully ask all the people remaining that are going to speak to please don't put me in the position of having to interrupt you so often, to stick to the time limit that we have everyone else sticking to. That's really unfair to the other people. Okay, next up, I believe, is Matt. Matt, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Matt, can you go ahead? Oh, bless you again, right? Okay. Adam, let's go to the next person, please.
Hi, my name is Don Greenberg. I live at 7 Lytle Street, and I want to thank the council for their work on this ordinance. I do have some concerns with it. I'd like to echo the concerns of Michael and Sharon about the setbacks, about the maximum impervious coverage, and about and I think as a sustainable town, we could do better than this. I understand that in some areas, 90% coverage might be existing, but we could do better. There are new technologies out. There's pervious concrete. And the other concern I had was with the setbacks. I live at 7 Lytle. My house backs up to a 100-foot backyard of 214 Witherspoon, as does 3 and 5, my neighbors. And I don't want to have to look out my windows at a 45-foot tall brick block. As I said, I think we can do better. And I'll keep it short. That's basically my concerns: the setbacks, the 90% impervious coverage, and also the 90% impervious coverage would present problems with runoff. And I know that they have to ameliorate that, but that doesn't always work. I currently have a basement with a sump pump that comes on several times a day as it is, with large brick buildings with big areas of concrete. I think that's going to affect that. And I would urge the council to remedy what I see as defects in this. And don't get me wrong, I think we absolutely need more affordable housing, but I think there's a better way to do it. And as a sustainable town, we can do better. And I did have a question, sort of off topic, but kind of in with it. On Witherspoon Street, with all this development, are they going to address the issue of the sump pumps that pump water out into the street and create these ice skating rinks every year?
All right, Don, we're not going to entertain that question at the moment just because we're having a public hearing on the ordinance, but we can follow up with you on that one.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Yep, thank you. All right, Adam, do we have other people out there? Okay, John?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Freya, members of Princeton Council, staff, and town members attending this meeting. My name is John Bailey, and I'm calling this evening from 3570 Highway 27, Princeton, New Jersey. I grew up in this neighborhood. I love this neighborhood. So much that I come back to Princeton several times a year with programs to help keep the history of this community alive, and also to visit my grandchildren and many of you on this Zoom call. Everybody's comments tonight have been thoughtful and purposeful, the pros and the cons. This neighborhood has always been available to low-wage earners in a service job. Unfortunately, that is becoming less and less the case today, with soaring real estate values and prices in Princeton. The advantage of the AHO 07 is that it will provide more housing that is affordable not only in a low-income sense, but simply in a lower salary sense. It's important that we're able to house the service workers in Princeton in affordable housing and in a walkable community. That is the history of this community, and it should be extended with this ordinance. Ask ourselves, is this ordinance a benefit to the town? And subsequently, what are the community benefits? Let these 2 points guide your deliberation and be the deciding factors when you vote. I want to thank you all for your time and your continued appreciation for what all of you do for our town. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Adam, do we have other folks? There we go. It's just screen back. Adam, should we try Matt again? Are you on Walt? Okay, that's good. Walt?
Thank you. My name is Walt Makowski. I live on 14 Birch Avenue. I've lived here for 40 years. I'll try to be quick. I want to iterate what Sharon said. We did not have enough time to review this. We got the notice, the certified mail on Tuesday, and did not have time. 2, there's a gross error on lots in block 6905 and 6902. I believe where the match line between the business and the R9 and the business zone is incorrect, and it is inconsistent with the tax assessor database. I looked at it for the last 6 years, and it has huge impact on the development on both sides of Birch Avenue. So I believe that should be corrected before this document is approved. I want to iterate what other people have said about the stormwater, but as I said at the planning board meeting on Thursday, there's another issue that is really critical, in that when the groundwater increases, our radon levels explode. I have 5 sump pumps, And I believe that the answer that I got at the meeting was this will follow the stormwater provisions. But because I think all the existing development, not all, but I'd say probably more than 95% have been bad actors and have essentially had 100% impervious coverage, the stormwater no longer protects you, because if you have a bad condition after 5 years, regardless of what's required by zoning now, that's the give and take. So I don't think there is adequate protection, and I think this is a life safety issue. The other thing in the ordinance itself, there is nothing about open space, and I have never seen a multifamily zone ordinance that doesn't speak to the issue of open space. The only thing it speaks to is a buffer, 15-foot buffer, but I don't think that speaks to open space at all. So I think that's an issue. And last, I think there is something incongruous with the bulk, which represents 1,000% increase in FAR in density, 1,000%. All right, that in order to achieve what is allowed, I think most of the historic buildings that are listed on here will be gone, and I don't think there's adequate protection, and I don't think the bulk component of this in any way retains the character, and in the long run will eliminate many, if not most, of the historic housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt. All right, Adam, let's go back to Matt, just see if we can get Matt on. Matt?
Good evening, Mayor Frida. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you for letting me try again. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. My name is Matt Malechko. I live at 23 Bank Street, and I'm speaking this evening as a private citizen and not representing any group of which I am a member. I have 2 points to make that I'll make briefly. First one is that I strongly support this ordinance. We're facing a substantial and long-running shortage of housing units, particularly affordable housing units in Princeton. And rezonings like this are critical to enabling us to meet our moral as well as our legal obligations to provide housing for our neighbors and to welcome more neighbors into our community, particularly those who are struggling to afford to live here and those who have been excluded in large part due to our zoning and land use policies that make it infeasible, if not illegal, to build duplexes, triplexes, and other forms of multifamily housing. Rezonings like this also allow us to develop and redevelop our land much more wisely than we have in the past, which is critical for long-term affordability and long-term reductions in climate emissions. So in short, this zoning overlay and general zoning reforms like it are critically important to ensuring that Princeton is a place that all people can call home. I join others in applauding those who worked on bringing this ordinance to a hearing, and I strongly support its passage. My second point, as others have mentioned, this rezoning is slightly unique in that the resulting construction will almost certainly entail redevelopment and at least temporary displacement of existing residents. And since any eventual redevelopment plan in this area will most likely require a relocation of, in this circumstance, a vulnerable set of renters, an eventual developer's agreement to ensure the rights and welfare of the affected renters should be a top priority. Fortunately, as I understand it, initial designs that have been shared publicly seem to indicate that all involved stakeholders are already committed to this. So I encourage all stakeholders to remain committed to ensuring protections for existing residents, some of which have already been considered, and when the time for it comes, formally committing to these protections via developer's agreement. And again, in this case, it seems appropriate and seemingly agreeable to all stakeholders already. I'd say this is important first and foremost to ensure the welfare and rights of existing residents, but also because this presents us with an opportunity to demonstrate how forward-thinking, progressive rezoning is entirely consistent with promoting housing stability and community stability. We can, by intentionally working together, both rezone our neighborhoods to promote affordable housing and protect and promote residential stability. So in closing, I just ask that you embrace this opportunity as a shining example of what equitable, forward-thinking housing policy can look like. So thank you to everyone who's worked on this, and I wish you all a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. All right, Adam, is there anybody else that we haven't heard from yet? I guess that's everybody. Okay, so I heard a number of concerns brought up. It would be good. Justin, do you want to try to, I kind of wrote things down. I have a list. You might have the same list. Do you want to kind of address the concerns that were brought up?
I'd be happy to do so, Mayor. Do you want to begin with your list, or do you want me just to address each comment kind of one at a time?
Yeah, let's just hit them one at a time. I mean, I can tell you my list, or you can just start reading your list. I mean, I was just keeping track of the concerns that were brought up. If you have that written down, we just start hitting them one by one.
Okay.
Or maybe I should just say to you, so like, to me, there was a question on the height, the 0 setback, people being displaced, the 90% coverage. I think there was a question about whether the two lists of primary properties were accurate or whether there were two different lists. Something about the R9 boundary. And then I actually had another question that somebody in the public posed to me today that wasn't brought up here, was that if the front of a building is preserved, can someone still build in front of a preserved building front? So if you could hit all those
Sure. So I'll
in
tackle
less than 5 hours, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I'll tackle the last one first, the question that you had mentioned. So there are 62 parcels in this potential overlay zone. 55 of them are within the Witherspoon-Jackson Historic District, and they would have all the historic district protections, including HPC review, preservation plan approval, and demo or moving permit requirements. So that would cover, to some extent, the where and kind of how the building could fit in with the existing structure through that oversight before getting to the planning board or to the zoning board itself as well. So the short answer to that question, we've seen, and it's not going to be short, we've seen other AHO, we have obviously 6 other overlays here. We've seen development in one of them, 3 projects so far, and they've been 3 very different projects. That's in a suggested historic district, so it doesn't have that extra layer of protection. We've seen another one come in the Jugtown district, which is in that, so we'll see this play through if once that goes through an application. To the question of if they have to go behind the building, because they have those historic protections in the 55 zones, or 55 parcels, excuse me, and explicitly included in this ordinance is that any development has to be respectful of that structure. It would be, it would generally fall behind that building as well. Although there would be some opportunities to include potentially to the side of something existing, and we would take that on a case-by-case basis. So I hope that covers the first one. We also, staff has noticed that there seems to be just a drafting error in some of our mapping. Frankly, it comes from the former township map, had really thick lines, and some of these parcels are pretty small once you zoom in. So we do need to verify that, and as Walt said, that would affect the buffer requirement to a residential zone. So we'll be certain to look into that and fix that once we get some proof on where that's supposed to go. But we think it's probably, as Walt suggested, the line should be pushed over one parcel rather than separating these houses into half business, half residential. So then moving on, we did hear comments at the planning board about the 90% coverage, maximum impervious coverage allowed. Many of the properties that exist now have near that coverage, if not more. So those all would go through our planning board process or zoning board process, where the stormwater regulations would, go into play for these properties that nothing's happened to them in decades, if not generations. So there would be an opportunity for improvement there. But the 90% coverage number is the maximum that is allowed. As was discussed earlier, I think by Mr. Zinder, when I answered that the 0 side yard setback could go directly to the line, there are additional, building code requirements and things like that, depending on each case. And then I guess just lastly, we don't have any mechanism through land use law or zoning code to govern the displacement of the existing residents, and that's something we certainly should consider. The unfortunate reality is, like we see elsewhere throughout town, many of these houses could be redeveloped today into another, even if it's just a single family, but almost double in price, and those residents wouldn't have any protections either. So we, as a matter of land use, we don't have any protections there, but it would be incumbent on the property owners to hopefully do something about that. And Mayor, are there any others you would directly like me to?
I think that might be it. Let me just ask Trishka, the comments on the whole buffer thing, having to correct that, is that in any way impact what we're going to vote on here tonight? Or our ability to vote on it, I should say?
Yes, so unfortunately, without the benefit of knowing exactly what the issues are, I mean, with the map that accompanies the ordinance is just showing the boundaries of the overlay itself. It's not affecting the underlying zone boundaries in any way, and it's really illustrative. That's why the ordinance itself is very specific as to which properties are and are not included in the overlay. So, I mean, without knowing more, I mean, maybe, Justin, you can explain to me and I'm missing something, but sitting here, I don't think it's an issue, because as I said, the map is really an illustration of where the overlay is, because not everybody knows what their lot and block number is. And that's more for noticing purposes than anything else, that particular exhibit. But the ordinance is very clear about where the boundaries of the overlay lie. Now, to the underlying, if there are issues with how our underlying zoning map is showing the boundaries between some of these zones, that's separate and apart from this ordinance. That's something we can look at and address. I know we had looked at that very closely when the two zoning maps are being consolidated. That you just I think you adopted what the consolidated map was done in December, I think. So, but we can take another look at that and just make sure that those boundary lines are clearly shown.
Okay.
So I guess that's an extremely long-winded way of saying that, no, I don't think it's an issue, but I wanted to lay it all out so that Justin could correct me if there was something I was missing.
No, that's basically correct. If anything, it's an issue with, a drafting issue of the maps of the underlying zoning, not this overlay specifically.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, Council, Mia.
I'd like to address the one thing that Justin couldn't address through the land use mechanism, which is the situation with the existing residents. We have received some very thoughtful communication from two members of the audience, Maria Huega and Veronica Olivares, who are writing in their personal capacity, and they wanted to be reassured of the governing body's commitment to the residents. And they had a number of suggestions for specific mechanisms that could be employed, and I can't get into those specifics because we'd be here for another half hour, but first of all, I want to make clear that the existing situation cannot continue. There are humanitarian reasons why no one would want to perpetuate the existing situation of the residents. And as a council, we are committed to improving and providing ongoing safe protection for the residents. And we do believe that this overlay provides us with the best possible avenue to do that. We are aware very generally of the plans of some of the potential developments that will take place on site, and feel very confident that the needs of the existing residents will be prioritized. I just want to read from Maria's email, in which she says, "I urge Mayor and Council to look at the responsible practices used in other similar residential transition initiatives, such as Merwick-Stanworth, which we certainly will. And she asks us to unequivocally affirm our commitment and leadership in undertaking any possible efforts in our power to assure all residents who might be displaced in this process that their rights will be protected. She asks us to seek to establish open and continuous communications, lines of communication with the impacted residents, and to keep them informed. So as Council President, I want to assure you of our firm commitment, speaking on behalf of all of my colleagues, to what both of you have asked of us. And I also just wanted to say that, you know, what you both requested is really just the floor, not the ceiling of our commitment to those residents. And in fact, in our discussions in crafting this ordinance, the situation of those residents has been a primary motivating factor, and we have given a lot of thought to it, and we look forward to working with the Human Services Commission and with the Affordable Housing Board and with all of the advocates in the community who are committed to those residents as we are, and to improving their condition, because as I started out by saying, the status quo from a humanitarian standpoint is unacceptable, and it would be unconscionable for any of us to do anything to perpetuate that. So that's.
Thank you. Leticia.
Yes, thank you. No, I just want to add to what Mia already expressed. Maria, some of the suggestions you have made, I think we definitely should be exploring. But I also wanted to comment and share, for those that may not recall, that years ago, actually was pre-COVID, that Human Services and the Civil Rights Commission had already made recommendations on some initiatives they wanted to work on to protect the rights of tenants, but also provide educational resources, not just only on their rights, but also their responsibilities. And this was pre-COVID, then COVID hit, and that was put on the back burner. I think it needs to be brought back to the front, and it's something that, an initiative that we should follow up on, both in collaboration with Human Services, our Civil Rights Commission, and our Affordable Housing Board. And I look forward to us following up on that.
Leighton?
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I was wondering what my commentary would be tonight on this, and it just came to me that probably the best thing I can do is share with the public and the people here. It's just a story of my childhood. As you probably, most of you know, I grew up here in the 1950s, and I have gone through the 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way to 2023 now. And I must share with you that I've always loved the town of Princeton and have always loved the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood, because for me, Princeton stopped pretty much when I was a child at Jackson Street. That was the town of Princeton. And let me just share with you that in that town of Princeton, we had neighborhood stores, butcher shops, 4 churches, barber shops, the laundry facilities, candy stores, 4 or 5 bars, believe it, on an 8-mile island. We had activity, we had energy, and quite frankly, believe it or not, we probably had more density than we do right now. Witherspoon-Jackson was teeming with energy, with people, with diversity, Italian and Americans, and families all over the place, children all over the place, being active and having a good time. And again, I remind you that it was business-laden. Businesses of all kinds were on and in Witherspoon-Jackson. And I want to remind people that Nassau Street, while some people may think Central Business District, yada-da, guess what the brand street here in Princeton is? It is Witherspoon Street. Because you know why? Witherspoon Street belongs totally to Princeton. Nassau Street belongs to the state of New Jersey. That's Route 27 and a whole lot of other routes if you look at it. So just don't get it twisted. Witherspoon Street, since my lifetime, since the 50s, has seen nothing but decay. It's a beloved community with beautiful people, but decay, neglect. We get no respect on Clay Street, and could it be? Could it be over all this time that maybe it's because of the people who lived there? I'm not going to try to answer that question, but what I will tell you is now the gentrification in Princeton is changing. The demographics are changing. But guess what? The Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood is still the most eclectic and the most diverse neighborhood in Princeton, and damn it, it deserves a facelift after all of these years. I like going into Delicioso's and having breakfast. I like going into the Meeting House. I like going into other areas on Witherspoon Street to get a bite to eat. It is time that we address Princeton on an equitable basis, and it is high time that along with the rest of the town of Princeton having a facelift, that somebody pay attention to the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood along the Witherspoon Street corridor, because it is Princeton's brand, and in my opinion, the most important street in Princeton, and the street with the most and greatest upside here in Princeton. So that's my 2 cents, and I think this ordinance is good. It will bring more affordability to Princeton. Yes, it will bring more density in Princeton, but if you've heard anything I've said over the past couple minutes, it's that if there's one neighborhood in Princeton that can take the density that will continue to be welcoming, and it already has been denser than it is right now, it's the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood. And one last thing, we all have a lot of NIMBYs in Princeton. Well, I'm a YIMBY. Yes, in my neighborhood, let's do it.
Thanks, Leighton. David and then East.
Yeah, I don't know why I raised my hand to speak right after Leighton, but I just wanted to comment on a couple of specific zoning questions. So the 45-foot height limit, for example, I want to point out that until just a couple of years ago in the former borough, the height of a building was measured to the average height of a sloping roof. So the midpoint. It was changed to be to the very peak. So if the current limit of 35 feet, if there used to be a limit of 35 feet to the average roof height, then the actual limit was quite a bit higher and probably very close to the 45-foot height limit that is being proposed in this ordinance. On a related note, in our neighborhood character standards, we actually allow a 40-foot height limit for duplexes, which are common in this neighborhood. So again, I just am trying to emphasize that this 45-foot height limit is not such a departure from the patterns that are existing there. And I also wanted to point out that, for instance, in the B1 zone, there already is a 0-foot side yard setback requirement. Now, this whole corridor is not the B1, but the township B1 is the section that's down by Lee Avenue and Birch Avenue. So, you know, and we know that even outside of the B1 that there are a lot of properties that have that 0-foot side yard setback currently, or 3 feet or 5 feet, you know, in the borough's B4, R4 district, sorry. So all of that, I know it's kind of detailed, but it's trying to make the point that what we're proposing here is not that radically different. And then the last issue I just wanted to mention, I think Trishka sort of made this case, but wherever the boundary falls between this overlay and a residential district that's abutting, there's going to be this 15-foot landscape buffer that's required under this ordinance. And so while there may be an error about exactly where that boundary falls, wherever it does fall on our zoning map currently, there's going to be a 15-foot landscape buffer between any of these properties and the abutting residential district. So I just wanted to share some of those, what I hope are comforting details about the zoning. Right. Yes, an error on the zoning map, which is not part of this ordinance. It's not changed at all by this ordinance.
Thank you. I hear the concerns of residents in the neighborhood, and I guess I'm going to refer back to something Justin said. You know, change is very difficult, but we should not be looking at what we have now versus what this ordinance will bring. Let's consider, what if this ordinance didn't move forward? What if this zone wasn't developed? What would we have then? And my understanding, my take is that what we would have would be much, much worse for the neighborhood than what we are getting with this ordinance. Things will not stay the same if these properties weren't developed under the aegis of this ordinance. They would be developed by people who very reasonably wouldn't have the best interests of Princeton in mind, but were perhaps more just out to make money, which I don't think is true of the people that are involved in this now. So while I hear what the residents are saying, I think overall this is a really positive move. I want to thank my colleagues, Michelle, David, and Mia, who have been working on this for a very, very long period of time. Justin, other members of the staff. It's really been a long time emerging, and Charo and Valeria, I hear your objections. I think Mia captured that really well, that we are absolutely committed to mitigating the impact of development for residents in need. So overall, I really support this, and I think it's a good move forward. So.
Michelle.
In the interest of time, I'll keep it brief. I think my colleagues have said it all, particularly Leighton. You know, my family grew up there too on Lee Avenue, and it was a real blend, a mix, diversity, and it was very vibrant. I understand. It's before my time, though, Leighton. But you know, this is a remarkable move towards really creating a more economic development for our town. Bringing the corridor of the central business district is limited. You know, we need to tie it all together and bring it all together and really revitalize the area. And, you know, I was at a seminar, a wonderful seminar on Saturday, and it was about affordable housing and affordability of our town. And we talked a lot about bringing more middle income types of diversity of our housing stock. This is giving us the ability to not just have the affordable units, but have more affordability, more mix. And if we don't move forward, I think, like Mia said, I think we're going to be, perpetuating a situation that's not good, and possibly creating a situation where you don't have this kind of opportunity for workforce housing, for middle income housing, and for the affordable units. So, and this affordable housing overlay is our 7th. I mean, we are moving forward on affordable housing overlays in other areas too, and it's really an essential component to making the mix of having more housing stock. And that's what everyone was agreeing to on Saturday, and it was a packed room at the library center. So I really feel that the community as a whole is really behind this. I think it's our values of this council, and I think it reflects the values of our town. So I'm very supportive of it. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've heard from everyone, so I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for a roll call vote on the ordinance.
Ms. Perrone-Lambros?
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Mr. Newland.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody that took part in the conversation tonight. A lot of good back and forth. Thank you. All right, we have 3 ordinance introductions. Ordinance 2023-03, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton authorizing the acquisition for $1 of approximately 34 acres of passive open space located between Ridgeview Road and Cherry Valley Road, Block 501, Lot 3, and portion of Block 501, Lot 10 on the Princeton tax maps. Public hearing February 13th, 2023. Is there Eve, thank you for the motion. Is there a second? Layton's got the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, it's a roll call, my bad, sorry.
Ms. Peron Lambros.
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Ms. Sacks.
Yes.
Ms. Fraga.
Yes.
Mr. Newland.
Yes.
Thank you, Dolores. Ordinance 2023-04, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton extending refuge collection hours and amending the code of the Borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974. Public hearing February 13th, 2023. Is there a motion on that? Thank you, Michelle. Is there a second? Thank you, Mia. Roll call vote.
Ms. Peron Lambros.
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Ms. Sacks.
Yes.
Ms. Fraga.
Yes.
Mr. Newland.
Yes.
Just while I'm going through these quickly for people in the audience, ordinance introductions, there's no discussion. We just introduce them, and then the discussion's at the public hearing. So I'm not trying to not let people talk. There's just no talking at this point. But on February 13th, there can be. All right, last one to be introduced tonight is ordinance 2023-05, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton concerning solid waste and recycling and amending Chapter 15 of the Code of the Borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974. Public hearing February 13th, 2023. Is there a motion on that? Thank you, Eve. Is there a second? Thank you, Michelle. Roll call.
Ms. Peron Lambros.
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Ms. Sacks.
Yes.
Ms. Fraga.
Yes.
Mr. Newland.
Yes.
Okay, resolutions, 23-55, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton approving a one-year extension to the Sustainable Princeton Extraordinary unspecified services contract. Sorry, I just can't say it tonight. Contract in the amount of $90,000 for 2023. Is there Mia's got the motion, David's got the second. Questions or comments on the resolution? All right, seeing.
It's a bargain.
Sorry?
It's a bargain.
And I would just make a comment to thank the Sustainable Princeton leadership and the amazing staff for how much they contribute to the town's progress. And we certainly would not be where we are with sustainability if it weren't for this organization, which is the little engine that could. It's very small, and they have a massive impact in Princeton. So thank you.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 I'm sorry, there's another comment, my bad.
I just want to add a comment that I so appreciate Sustainable Princeton being there, because so many times I have questions on what the impact of something will be, and there's somebody to run the numbers, do the math, and, you know, whether it's emissions or, you know, anything else about environmental impact, it is just fundamentally important to the work we do. So thank you to those who are here, and please extend these comments to your colleagues.
Okay, now we're ready? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 2356, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the mayor and the administrator to act as authorized representatives of Princeton with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Green Acres Program for purposes of grant and loan assistance. Is there a motion? Thank you, David. Eve's got the second. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
2357, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing a professional services agreement with Arterial in the not-to-exceed amount of $52,500 for Nassau Streetscape Concept Plan. Is there a motion? Thank you, Michelle. Layton's got the second. Questions or comments? Eve?
I had two brief questions. One, I didn't really see, speaking of Sustainable Princeton, I didn't really see environmental concerns integrated into this proposal. And I understand it's kind of streetscape, I can say that word, design. But just want to be sure that as we move forward with this group, that environmental concerns are brought up. And the other brief comment is that they were proposing a 3 to 4 month timeline with at least a couple of presentations to council. Is that realistic, given the pace at which we move?
It is very optimistic that it can be done within that amount of time, but we will be working closely with them. This is a priority of, I hope, council. I don't want to speak for you, but we understand that it's a council priority and it's been a staff priority. So we'll do everything within our power to meet that time frame. Yeah. And in regards to sustainability, part of their work is looking at the travel lanes of Nassau Street and how we can adapt those, that configuration for multimodal non-vehicular travel, incorporate bike lanes. So that does speak to some of that sustainability element.
Yeah, that absolutely was there, and I really appreciated that. That was great to read about. Thanks.
Thanks, Mia.
So I wanted to thank my colleague, Councilwoman Lambrose, for bringing this phenomenal company to Princeton. Michelle has this talent for finding amazing talent at conferences, and she meets people and brings them to Princeton, and they work miracles here. And this is yet another one of her discoveries. This is for anybody on council who doesn't understand, this is a niche firm where they, and they may be the only one in the state that incorporates street design, and they understand what's happening underneath the street in terms of infrastructure, and they are what was missing when we were doing Witherspoon Street. And there's some other projects that we've done in the past that if we had arterial, I think we would have saved ourselves time and money and a lot of headache. So that's water under the bridge. We're so happy to have discovered them. Their principal came and spent a few hours with staff and with Michelle and I walking around Princeton, and it was clear that this has been the missing component that we have, in trying to work on streets, because there's planning is one thing, engineering is another thing, the utilities are another thing, and this is a firm that is able to bring all of those together and make recommendations for a street that has also, is aesthetically gets us where we want to go. So thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Michelle?
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Mia, for those comments, and thank you to Deanna, Jim, Justin, the staff for being really receptive to this. There's, as you saw in the goals, we have a very ambitious amount of projects. And so bringing in the experts in these niche areas is really important to making sure that we streamline things and we have this community engagement process that they have experience with and they can really help us. There's a lot of stakeholders we want to hear from. Having gone through the Witherspoon process, it was difficult to navigate. Staff did great, but we could have done, I think, so much more, and I think that this takes us to the next level. Nassau Street, Witherspoon Street, these are our brands. These are the main streets, and we're putting millions of dollars in. So $52,000 is a fraction of one block of what we're spending. So to spend a little extra and make sure we do it right, we have design concepts that we had a study done several years ago. We have the engineering firms, we have our engineers and planners, but it really helps us to have somebody who's an expert niche. And so I'm super excited, and I just wanted to thank the staff for being receptive and open to working with them. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
23-58, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing the continuation of the off-leash program for dogs at Quarry Park. Is there, Mia, are you making that motion? You are. Thank you very much. And I don't know, there are a whole bunch of hands went up. Leticia, why don't you get the second? Questions or comments? Okay.
Woof.
Woof. I was going to say the same thing. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mia.
Okay. 2359, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton to condemn and combat anti-Semitism. So I'm happy to see that. Leticia, you go ahead first, please.
Thank you. And I also would like, I want to recognize Civil Rights Commissioner Howard Levy, who's here, who actually took part in drafting the resolution along with other members of the commission. And I wanted to invite him to come up and just give us a little background on the drafting of the resolution, what led to it, and also be available to answer any questions my colleagues may have.
Got to move this up.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My first council meeting. First of all, thank all of you for all your hard work and thoughtfulness. I'm very impressed here. So this came out of actually a recommendation, I think, from Mayor Frida for us to put together a resolution, which I'm guessing came out of one of the recent tragedies throughout the country, you know, the synagogue shootings in Pittsburgh, in Poway, California, Jersey City, and then last year there was a hostage situation at a synagogue in Texas, and even here in New Jersey several months ago there was a credible threat against synagogues. And so sadly, even though this has taken us a while to get this back in front of you, sadly the situation hasn't improved and probably has gotten worse in ways big and small. And you know, they say that anti-Semitism is sort of a leading indicator of hate against other groups in society. And so we've spent a good amount of time researching and had some sort of thoughtful, spirited discussions about this. And I think we've put together a resolution that both condemns anti-Semitism but also serves a bit of an educational purpose, where we're laying out you know, kind of what anti-Semitism is, not everything, but I think the almost quote unquote the greatest hits of the various both subtle and non-subtle forms of anti-Semitism. So I think we're proud of the work we put in. Hope you guys will approve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any council question? Sorry.
If
Any
anyone had
council?
any questions.
Yeah, more a comment than a question, but I wanted to particularly praise the way that you handled the question of Zionism, you know, and anti-Zionism versus anti-Semitism, and the fact that it's possible to criticize the government of Israel without being anti-Semitic, because I think it's important to acknowledge that.
No, I agree, and we spoke a lot about it.
Any other council questions or comments? Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, the consent agenda is next. Does anyone have anything on the consent agenda they want us to pull, or can we leave everything there? All right, hearing nothing. There. Michelle, are you moving the consent agenda? Thank you very much. Is there a second on the consent agenda? Thank you, Eve. All in favor, say aye.
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 Mr. Cohen, do you have a motion?
I move we adjourn.
Is there a second? Thank you, Michelle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're done. Goodbye. Good night. Thank you all.